to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. All right. Good evening, everyone. Small crowd. Any personal appearances? All the fans of the Park District. Personal appearances? Any personal appearances? All right. Mr. Kleben, you want to move up on the agenda and wow us with all the wonderful news?
Well, I'm going to try to keep it brief, topical, as directed.
Okay.
So we're going to talk today.
Okay, thanks for that was great. We appreciate it. No, I said that was great. We appreciate it. Thanks. No, I'm kidding.
But we're gonna just kind of go through a summary of the equipment upgrades at Roosevelt Park. There's a little presentation here. Are you driving?
I can, yep.
Yeah, if you just want to advance the slide. Okay. So we'll kind of go through three general topics, kind of a summary of the design, some highlights, summary of the cost, summary of the schedule. We'll start with a little bit of the design. We ended up, and I think I presented this before, we didn't have to make the building big. But the running joke on the design team is we've got a 4.99 pound sausage and 5 pound. Like everything just fit. We did previously we had talked about a balance tank outside the building. If you look on this slide here, that's that square box kind of outside the doors. We did have that, and last time I presented to your group, we talked about no more open water in the shed, and that's still true. That tank outside is the balance. Someone asked me, well, what does a balance tank do? I'm like, picture everybody standing around on the edge of the pool, and you all jump in at one time. The water's got to go somewhere. It goes into this tank, and then it kind of balances out, and then it goes from that tank. That's the two pipes there that kind of come in the side of the tank. Those come from the pool. And then there's 3 lines of water that go into the pit. So the balance tank is kind of the first place for the water to go. And if we scroll to the next slide, this is kind of what it looks like in general in plan views. This is kind of like in our digital model, we just kind of took the roof and parted it open. We're looking straight down at it. Really, the highlight of the project is that blue circle. That's the filter vessel that replaces the open water in the wet pit inside the. These are like kind of the cat's pajamas on water treatment. Every real credible pool is using this type of filtration technology. So it really was a starting point of the whole project. Even though, again, everything's pretty tight, we will end up with better access into the pit to manage and maintain pumps and valves and fittings. That had the good fortune today of meeting your new maintenance supervisor, Eric Keller, over there. He came in, let me in, and we're talking. He had to go down in the pit, and he's like, I don't even know how to get down there. And he looked, and there's a little ladder. But he's a kind of a tall, big guy, and he had trouble getting there. And he's like, "It's going to be better when we're done." Like, it will be, actually, and you'll get a real ladder. So he was pretty excited about that. And then you'll see the 2 long rectangular gray boxes. They have little circles in the corners. Those are 2 new pool boilers. So that's what makes the water warmer for swimmers and all that. Existing boiler right now, there's a 2.5 million BTU per hour boiler. There's 2 1.8 million BTU boilers now, so you get more boiler capacity, and it's less cost than the original basis of design for the project when it was formulated. So you get more boiler capacity for potentially probably not warmer water. It just cleans it better, less money, and we may be able to make it fit in this building. So that was kind of a win here, operationally and design. We did actually compare. These are high efficiency boilers, not highest. but we actually did some economic analysis on the highest rated efficiencies. And I think it saved like $200 in an operating year. So we went to a little less cost, less boiler capacity, less efficiency, but the economics of the cost were so much better. So it ended up being kind of a nice lead for the design here. If we scroll ahead to the section view, thank you. Kind of shows the headroom in the shed. Right now, when you walk in the door, right above the door head, there's some pipes. That's really going to be the conditioning. A lot of overhead pipe. We're not making it better, but we're maintaining at least the same overhead access. Above the pit, it's a little tighter, but you really don't have to walk down there. Above the pit there. So we think all in all, it's still going to be a serviceable building. People will be able to get in there and wrench on their valves and do replacements as they come. So that turned out kind of nice. We scroll ahead to the tank location. We've already talked about the balance tank. This is kind of the west end of the pool. And just for some context, you look in the pool, there's those two little blue squares. Those are where the water returns from the bottom of the pool into the piping that now goes to that filter shed. But you connect, there's a blue line that runs straight west out of there, and you can kind of see that's where we know piping exists. Like we were able to connect the dots of where the two sumps are, the square boxes. Connect the dot. We actually video scoped that one leg of that underground piping. Good condition. It's built in '74, but the pipe was still intact. But we know we have a T there. And the point of all that is the only thing we knew for certain about the underground piping where that main return line is. And so moving the tank, it initially was straight east, like in the pool deck area, straight east of the filter shed. But we moved it outside the pool deck area completely. The really nice thing about that is it simplified the piping. It removed the greatest uncertainty risk of the project, where this return piping is. The dashed lines that kind of run at a sharp angle that kind of connect to the pit, existing pit, we faked that. I'll be honest. We didn't know where they were. That was going to be just 100% field verification. But by moving the tank, we got rid of that uncertainty. So those lines, those existing lines that now show up as dashed lines, they'll stay in place. But we'll cut them and cap them, and we'll pressure test them to make sure that that cap is intact so we don't get any weird whatever might happen through an abandoned pipe. But that really took that uncertainty away. And as a project engineer, project designer, and owners, I always ask people, think about the biggest risk on a project. Operationally, there's some things there, but just from a technical standpoint, the uncertainty of the pipe, we got rid of most of that. That was a good thing. But it did complicate coordination with the most important project you have going on, flood protection. We've talked to the project engineers at Houston a couple times, went back and forth on some construction access. And we've got kind of a consensus among gentlemen, if you will, on what that site access will look like. They've got to get me some confirmation on a fence line, but we agree in principle on what's going to have to happen. So the complication has mostly been addressed. We're just waiting on final complication. There'll be some things during construction that are field verifications. I'm going to have to kind of coexist with them a little bit on some elevations, but that's all kind of would be a normal part of a normal project anyways. So that complication's mostly done, already taken care of. And it's simplified site storage for your project. Before, we weren't entirely sure. I didn't have a real sure answer on where they're going to store their goods. Probably would have been in the pool deck. Didn't really have any other place that they thought they could do it. But oddly, bringing that tank out of the pool deck simplified the site storage. Because now they got to have access to the tank in. Now they got to be given access. So that made that uncertainty kind of go away, cleaned up some of those things. So that's kind of the technical summary of the project. The next part was the cost summary. You've hopefully seen this in various forums on previous estimates. Um, Basically, the cost range analysis, these are summaries of probably like 72 line items of construction. Jared gets the pleasure of looking at those. Policymakers probably benefit more from this summary. But that class range, class 4, class 3, whatever, that as a project estimate develops, that range gets smaller. I usually start at a plus minus 20%, plus minus 30%, depending on how much information is available. We're at now is minus 10 plus 15. You always got to have a range in mind. And these at this level of estimate, that's a pretty good range. Sometimes I'll go to plus 10%, but we're digging a hole in the ground, so I always reserve the right to that range or permit. Because you dig a hole, you never know. But you can see the cost range. The median is what I kind of budget and price around, or at least discuss. The range is useful so you have an assessment of what we think the reasonable risk of a high cost or low cost might be. Median is just kind of that's the sum of the numbers. But you'll see some data here that revolves around the median. So there's a construction cost range. That's the bill actually paid to the contract for materials, labor, insurance, all that stuff that they got to do. The next line item is the total project cost range. That's contingency you carry on your side of the budget that you get to choose to do with. If there's a discretionary expense or we hit something that we didn't know about, that total project cost includes permitting. You'll pay the building permit, it avoids markup. Some construction phase testing, that's on an owner's side of the my fees are AE2S fees, they don't go to me. That's on that total project cost range. So again, you can see the median, that's kind of just the sum of the numbers as they're calculated with that same minus 10 plus 50 range. So that's kind of where we're going right now as we get ready to issue this project publicly. And then these are just kind of a summary of how that cost is allocated. And these are the median costs of the direct construction cost. And we broke it down into 5 chunks. Your contract will be one big chunk, a single prime lump sum contract. But it's useful to know kind of where the buckets go. And in this project, we kind of identified 5 buckets: the boiler, the filtration, the return piping, miscellaneous structural and other things, and then the contractor project admin, which seems like a big number when I look at this. Like, that's the number that jumps out at me. But it's within the range of a normal project. 20-30% somewhere in there is kind of where the contractor's administration, that's their project management, that's their internal office overhead, all those other things that they got to do to manage a project. That $196,000 is right in the range of expected number, with a sum total of $971. And then the next one is just by construction type, and we do this to assess what type of contracts we'll issue. If the mechanical, electrical get big, then we got to do a different form of contracting. But because they're small relative to general construction, we're able to do this as a single prime bid. You'll end up with one contract from who might have several subs under them, but it's the most efficient way to manage a project, is a project of magnitude, and the numbers validate that we're able. That's the summary on the cost. And then we get to the schedule update. One more thing. Thank you, Ellie. This is just something we do to track estimated costs between estimates. We always carry the cost, the initial estimate, and then we do cost this estimate, and then we give change in dollars and change as a percent. It's a useful tool, one, to kind of keep our estimators honest and make sure we're tracking And then also it gives you a sense of what if scope is project. And this sort of variance, that's a pretty natural variance. As projects develop, you get more and better information. If this number doubled, 100% or 200%, that'd be indicative of scope change. But this sort of variance kind of shows that the scope really hasn't changed as we've got into it. Pretty normal range. And we do check this to make sure that if we do see a price go haywire, notify your project managers might need to do course correction. But so far we haven't seen. So that's kind of like, and these are based on the median cost. The ranges, of course, we still apply. And then we get to the schedule. There will be make sure I'm on the right slide. Pre-bid meeting will be Monday, January 6th. It is a mandatory pre-bid. Contractors, you just have to see these projects, really understand it. There's only so much we can do on 2 drawings for them to really understand it. So it's teams based. They don't have to be on site. We'll just talk about things. We have 300 some photographs of that little tiny building. That's all available. So we're very comfortable doing this as a remote mandatory. In order for them to qualify, they got to sign up as a plan holder. So we will know and Jared will know who's actually interested in the project. So again, if we see no plan holders, I know we got to go kind of pound the market to get interest. One of the things we are doing right now, the advertisement for bids, that's done. It's actually submitted to the Daily News for publication. I think it starts Saturday. We've actually sent that to 9 or 10 contractors we worked with or have been referred by national pool vendors in order to gauge their interest in the project. They should have received that this afternoon. It's kind of a little teaser. Come on up to Minot project. Bid opening scheduled for Thursday, January 16. That's probably a week longer than normal because we're dealing with Christmas and New Year's. I was telling Mr. Hankla back here, I watched It's a Wonderful Life last night, and I'll admit I cried. I do every time. I can't help it. That's officially the start of my holidays. So we're already starting to kind of think about holiday and New Year's. Again, with priming them, with seeing the ad for bids, and we'll follow up with phone calls. We're confident we're going to stay on track with that. Mostly because right now we're scheduling to be in front of you again on January 21st. We hope to be clear and concise bids, paperwork's in order. We can open lots of bids and you get lots of options. 21st. We're still on track for that. And then probably, I know this is, pools, we've talked about this before. They're a tremendous physical asset. We want to keep it open. Our job upon assignment was to provide a construction project that would allow you to operate it. We think we're going to do that here. So the on-site start would be after the 2025 operate. We talked about this at last meeting. We'll kind of go through a little bit of refinement here. That doesn't mean they're not working. With bids being presented to you for hopefully award on January 21st, contracting takes 3 to 4 weeks. So end of February, they're under contract. So they got March, April, May, June, July, August, all their stuff organized. And I always have this vision of September 1st, they're sitting there with the sawzall running and all the pumps are primed. September 2nd, they're starting to dig holes in the ground. But all that prep work happens before. So start on site, September 25. Base bid is substantially complete November 28th. And the definition in a colloquial sense for substantially complete is, can the pool operate as intended? In other words, the system's checked out, all the pieces fit, all the control functions done. So the pool could operate as if you had patrons in there that day. Of course, November 28th, be there. But the system yet maintained and ready to go. Final completion in 2026, because there will be loose ends. You're gonna have parts all over the place, and debris, and who knows what's going to be going on. But there's time in the spring then in 26. That's when final payment would be happening. That's the base bid. As our hedge, the alternate bid, same start, same contractual start, February or so, 25, we got them under contract. Do all that prep work in the summer, they'll start on site, but the hedge is hitting milestone 1 also on November 28th. And that would be every piece is individually operating. Even if it's temporary power, you got to plug a little patch cord in, at least you know it works. Passes water if it needs to pass water, right? All those things. So each individual component's functional, not yet. They would come back then and do that in 26. Substantial completion on May 9th, 26, which was the final completion of the base bid schedule. And then do final completion, end of May, in time for your operating. So that's kind of the hedge bet, if you will, on the schedule, following that alternate.
So either option has it ready for that 26 swimming season.
Correct. So that's kind of the summary. There's a lot of information there. Hopefully the summary of it all makes it kind of clear. I know for me, when I did this, all the pieces kind of started to make sense. Seeing it in this very, very kind of summary basis really made the highlights for me. Our project team now understands it a lot more clear, and that's always helpful. Everybody on our project team can understand kind of this project going. So if I'm not around, somebody's gonna be able to answer. That's the end of the formal presentation.
Any questions for Jay?
What's the oversight expectation your end and from our end?
It's a good question. I mean, there's going to be quite a bit of work, and Jared probably knows this, that because of the multi coordination, these contractors have been carrying a lot of that water. That will remain. Our role is, if there's a problem on site, we get to this. I have some very skilled colleagues here in town. Something happens, they'll come down, take a look at it. We'll make periodic visits, general conformance, kind of the contract requirement. Check pay application, answer questions, do that sort of. It's not rigorous daily on site. That's a whole different type of construction observations. Periodic for general conformance.
Stanley, I believe, put in a brand new pool system. The contractor for that might be someone that would be interested in this if they, obviously the general thing, but are you anticipating out of state? Is this big enough? Is there enough interest?
I think there's some attraction to it. If they really are organized, like you can bang this out in a quick, tidy process. Not saying there's not a lot of mess and fuss, because tearing a lot of stuff out of that building. But that 3-month window, I think, is attractive. It's not long, it's not drawn out. That 3 months or so, that's something that most out-of-state contractors are willing to do. They're not going to do it for 30 months. 3 months, they're like, yeah, that seems like a nice. Generally, it'll be in-state. And we have some pretty reliable contractors that we've been cultivating on other municipal projects. Kind of like, hey, we need a group of people who can come along with us, and I'm hopeful they're going to participate. And you have some local contractors here who can think for themselves and hire the right subcontractors. But yeah, someone like that contractor, we hope also should. So.
Well, obviously the weather may have an impact. Which of the two is possible? You're going to have it substantially complete, or if you got all the equipment but still working outside for the most part, and weather be a big factor, but having it ready in May allows that.
Yeah, we think so too. I'm not going to absolutely say yes, 100%. I've been around long enough to avoid that mistake. But there's also a lot of indoor work. You know, you have a tank to build outside that is weather dependent. A little bit of concrete flat work outside to restore the pool deck. That's weather dependent. But there's a lot of indoor work. The only trick about the indoor work is there's not a lot of room, a lot of labor. So it's going to be a small crew working pretty hard.
When you say pit, how deep is that?
About 8 feet
8 feet.
to the bottom of the concrete tank.
Looks like we're ready to go. Spend some money.
And that's kind of the gist of the meeting is authorization to just go ahead and do that.
So do we need to do something?
We can just do a motion with no roll call, but a motion is to go out for bid as presented.
I'll make a motion to go out to bid as presented by AE2S.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion or question? Discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for the invitation.
Back our way.
All right, let's go to meeting minutes from November 19th for approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Got a motion and a second from Chelsea. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, passes. Bills for $535,063.29.
Move to approve.
Motion and a second. Any questions on the bills? Callan is home with illness, right?
Yep.
And everyone in town feels like. Any more discussion or questions? Ellie, you get to call the roll?
All right. Hovda,
Yes.
Hammer,
Yes.
Kirkhammer, Olson,
Yes. Salaries for $475,145. Motion.
I'll second it.
And a second by Hammer. Any discussion? Discussion? Ellie?
Hovda,
Yes.
Hammer,
Yes.
Kirkhammer, Olson.
Yes. Financials. Callan's not here, so let's all ask really difficult
Right.
questions. We can go by that, and we'll go to Jared.
Park Board President, Commissioners, don't have anything to add to my submitted report. I do apologize, did not get the maintenance report in last week. I thought they were submitting one from the maintenance department. But again, Eric Keller started last Monday. He spent the entire week with Joe, trying to learn the ropes and try to get out and see as much as possible. Unfortunately, Joe is out for medical leave here for an extended period of time, so they packed a lot in last week. Again, right now there's a lot of focus on snow removal when needed and trying to get the outdoor rinks up and running. We had Polaris open last weekend, still open now. Depending on all the snow, we were hoping to have everything opened up by this weekend, but we'll kind of see what happens tomorrow and Thursday with the snow and wind. Other than that, I don't have questions on my submitted report.
For the outdoor rinks, we got Polaris, we got Corbett, we got Roosevelt. Those,
Perkins.
and we take care of Perkit too. Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Corbett is it's more of just it's one rink, no boards, but I mean that's on there. So depending on the clientele at that time, it's sometimes it's boot hockey, sometimes it's ice hockey, and sometimes it's just skating, or a combination of all.
See how many pucks are inside Corbett Field in the spring. Then
It's a pretty good shot.
you have to try and skip.
You gotta hit the net.
You got
hit
to
the
skip
net.
it
That's
off
what
the
we
top
did.
bar or the crossbar, whatever it's called. Show my hockey knowledge. All right. Any other questions for Jared? or any other questions, since
Yeah,
we
I'll try
told
to
him that
answer
he can,
the
send everyone home and then.
They do thank you for giving them the pass on. Thank you for much appreciated.
All right, cool. Thanks, Jared. Although maybe you just want to stay
I'll
up
probably
there,
just
huh?
stand up here.
Okay, any new business? Go to the old business, the budget carryover or carry forward list.
Okay, so Park Board President Commissioners, second sheet on my supplement report kind of gives you an outline of the 2024 capital improvement funds, projects and funds that we'd like to carry over into 2025. And then at the bottom, it also has our maintenance fund requests to carry, future development funds, and grant match. So the total between all those items is $1,210,663.04. And I do reserve for Callan to come back with an update on this in case I missed something in his absence today. I can answer any questions on some of these. We just kind of ran out of time with weather and staffing this fall, otherwise they would have been completed.
Second to look them over and if there are any questions. You just need to approve it, correct? Motion in.
I'll make a motion to approve the carryover list as presented.
Second.
And then a second. Any further discussion or questions? Discussion? Should this be roll call?
Yeah.
Or- Okay, go ahead then.
Hovda,
Yes.
Hammer,
Yes.
Kirkhammer, Olson.
Yes. All right, you want to roll with number 3, rental rates?
On the supplement report, this is kind of with the auditing the last couple of years, they've asked for any time we do rate increases for board approval. So we kind of really looked at our skis and start with number 1, skis and snowshoes. Our current fee is $7 a day. We're asking to increase that to 10. And again, that includes skis or snowshoes, poles, boots, whatever you need for that. Kayaks for the different season. Again, for a single kayak right now, single and double, we're only charging $10 a day. We'd like to see a difference in fees for a single kayak for $15 a day and a double kayak to go to $20 a day. And again, the included equipment, life jacket paddles, and the kayak. And then we'd also like to look at adjusting to a kayak weekend fee that they can pick them up Friday and they return them on Monday. So it's a very good deal right now. Current fee is $30 for the kayak. We'd like to look at $30 for a single. Current fee is $30 for a single. Keep it the same, but change the double kayak fee to $40 for the week. So a little bit of an increase, but I don't feel that's going to stop anybody from being able to our skis, snowshoes, or kayaks during those seasons.
Do they pay tax on it?
Commissioner Huff, that would be a question for Callan. He has a formula for the things that need to be taxed, and I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
It just seems simple. If it's $10 or $50.
Yeah, they do figure the tax into the fee if it's
okay.
an item that needs.
All right.
I know there is certain service items
I
that
couldn't
do
tell you off the
tax,
top of
but I'm not sure.
Sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Where do we rent these at?
So currently, Commissioner Hammer, the skis and snowshoes are rented out of Corbett Warming House.
Okay.
And then the kayaks are rented out of here during that season out of the auditorium.
Good.
And with our new event trailer, we've talked about possibly trying to do some remote events at some point during the winter to do skis, cross-country skis and snowshoes, and then kayaks and things like that in the spring, summer, and fall season.
So we need to approve and get this on record. And you said, like, the auditors like the board to approve it. Do you think there's when there's one-offs like this that staff can do it? Or what do you feel? I mean, do we want to add,
I'll defer to our
think
executive
about adding
director.
something like that?
I think that if you guys as the board would like to, present that, executive director and staff would have the authority on situations like this, we can do that, move forward, and Callan can confirm after that is okay for us to do. But I feel like with things like this, when we have to make decisions rather quickly, especially when it is something that we've been able to do in the past. So you guys feel that you would like to do that, I think that would be beneficial for operation purposes.
In my opinion, if it's like we had the big schedule, right?
Right.
A few months ago, all and kind of approved it, and then this didn't get in there. It's like, well, this is one where I personally think it'd be good if the staff can just say, well, I guess beg for forgiveness later if we need to.
And everybody has, as you guys well know, they have the authority to come to our open meetings or contact you guys directly if they have
Yeah, when I'm talking to auditors, if
Yeah,
they say, well,
yeah.
hold on.
Yeah.
Just something to think about if we want to include something like that in a motion here. I can't.
I would agree with Karen. I think this is a small picture item, and people that are in it and see the big picture should be the ones doing it. I don't think we need to do these kinds of things. We need to get the results if there's a change, but I would agree with Karen.
So for this one, do you think then we should still move and approve this, but then maybe attach something to it saying from this point on and be the discretion of two of you? Or can we just do that and tell you that right now and not do anything with this?
I guess maybe what I think would maybe be the best is you guys go ahead, if you would feel so, motion and approve these rate changes, and then me and Callan can work with the auditors and make sure we're good to go, and then maybe that can be a topic we bring up in January 21st, so we're not having to go back and redo the motion.
Perfect. Okay.
If that makes sense.
I'll make a motion to approve the rate adjustment as presented.
All right. Motion and a second. Any more discussion or question? Discussion? Call the roll.
Hovda?
Yes.
Hammer?
Yes.
Kirkhammer? Olson?
Yes.
And then the last thing is just kind of a flood protection update. Ellie and I will be meeting in January to review plans moving forward into that. What's going to be an extremely busy construction season starting this spring. So we'll be meeting with them in the first part of January, so we can be ready for any changes that we need to at that time. Just an overall little recap. MI60, which is in front of the pool. They are pretty much primarily on a winter break right now, doing a little bit of cleanup in that area. It'll be full go start spring construction. MI7, Wagner Construction, they're working on the riverbank riprap, basically from the zoo. They'll work on that all the way to basically by the pump house in front of the pool, and then a little bit on the other side by the maintenance shop. They'll work on that until that's done, and then they'll be on a little bit of a winter break. And then Matson Construction, they are still working on trying to get the Discovery Barn moved over. I would say hopefully before the first of the year that will be in place in front of the bear den at the zoo. And then they have been working on the new concession slab, so that's ready for construction. But still a little bit busy there. A lot busier come spring construction. So that's just kind of a little update on that. We'll definitely have more at January's.
Cool. All right. Anything more for Jared? Thanks, Jared.
All right. Thank you.
Any other business to discuss? Not, we can go to the 4 alcohol permits we have in front of us.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Motion, which we have. And a second. Discussion.
What's it cost to make for an alcohol permit? Is that just a one-time? I mean, didn't we already approve Scott Collins for one?
We did. I would have to confirm. His might have a repeating one if they have if like some people have it like for a league night if they choose to do their own league. So it might be a repetitive approval from the date.
Park Board President Commissioners typically, so like you can get it for a golf simulator, kind of their whatever night they. But he might have had a different event somewhere else where
Gotcha.
either transferred it or
Then how long is it good for then?
So Park Board President Commissioners, the golf simulator, again, it's from the start to the end of that
For
season.
the season, basically?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then otherwise, just a special event, $50 permit for that night, depending on what it is.
And someone needs a permit for if they have a shelter at Oak Park and they need
You are correct. This is
to have
no
alcohol
different-
anywhere in a
no
park
different
system.
than for anything that is a non-selling alcohol event.
Sure.
So if you are selling, then the other rules apply for police. You might have to have a beer garden area, something. Where if you bring your own, then you are responsible to make sure everybody is of age.
Perfect. Thank you.
Questions? Not, all in favor say aye.
All right.
Ellie?
The only thing that I really have to add is we are still working on our half-cent sales tax initiative. Our goal is to roll out in the first couple of weeks of January a fact sheet that has some frequently asked questions, as well as some renderings and estimates, and then a landing page on our website that will have the ballot language, the notice of the ordinance, and contain that fact sheet as well. So I've already been scheduling presentations and just reminding everybody if people have questions or groups that they would like us to speak to, we're more than willing to get those on the calendar and scheduled. So other than that, just wrapping up stuff for the end of the year. I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday season. And thank everybody for all their work. I think that we've had a really good year. I think we've had our fair share of challenges, but I'm excited for the future, and I'm excited for some of our new department heads that are in place. I think that they're fitting in just well and kind of getting everything figured out. So thank you guys for the board for all your work as well, but that's really all I have.
Any questions of Ellie?
Since you brought up the absent sales tax, Ellie, this is just more of a maybe looking for some direction from you to the board members. How should we handle the one-offs where someone contacts us as a board with either for or against or comments? What's the best way for us to handle those, you think?
Which kind of depends on to what length that you guys feel comfortable having the conversation. If it gets to the point where you guys would like me to sit down with that individual or even have a conference call with the individual, I'm more than willing to. I think with the fact sheet and like I talked about that landing page of the website, that will be helpful, but I'm willing to sit down and have coffee or a conversation for anybody that wants to have a conversation about it. As we've talked about, we have staff and as park board can only present the facts. And after that, there's not much beyond that we can do. But I'd say for you guys, you can have the conversation to the point where you're comfortable. And if not, then they are more than welcome to call me at any point. But we will work on kind of those documents for you guys to have as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for Ellie? All right. Thanks, Ellie. Commissioners reports. Chelsea. How about her?
I don't think I have anything to report. I was going to say welcome to the new guy. So if you're listening, welcome.
What are the chances of that?
Probably not.
It's a good test.
But other than that, just everybody have a Merry Christmas.
I don't really have anything to add either. It's just like it's been an interesting year, been a busy year for the park board. That's for sure. Next year is going to be even more interesting as we navigate down the construction at Roosevelt Park and the zoo and the pool and have some sales tax and a lot of things. So it's exciting, but it's definitely been a busy year. So that's all I have.
Just to thank you for a great year, and just one thought, I like where we're at. I like where the board is at and the staff is at. A lot of ripples that had to be swum through this year, but it was well done and handled with challenges that came up. I think we're very well. So we're in good shape, and I do like where we're at. Looking into here, lots of good, exciting, and interesting coming up. Thanks, the board. Nice to work with you. Great job with the staff. Our attorney did pretty good too. We relied on that guy a lot this year. And I have said this before, but I don't want to embarrass people. We have been at a point where we didn't have exceptional law advice, and it is a real benefit to this board to have that. So we've got good people in place across the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff. And yeah, I'll just say thanks to all the fellow board members. It's been a fun year, interesting year. It's always enjoyable. It's fun to be able to sit up here and do this. And then to staff, make sure you pass along to everyone Merry Christmas and make sure they get out and enjoy time with their families. Because there's probably no chance they're watching right now. So. I was gonna say, played hooky last.
If the Lucky Strike's streaming it, then eventually.
Played hooky last week, so I didn't get to meet the first two. And now there's 3 I have to meet. I can do it today. And then we said, don't come. So anyway, we'd need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, let's move to the foundation meeting, of which I have the thing. There you go. Probably personal appearances. Probably here.